After closing in the green on Thursday, the NSE All-Share Index is back in the red, pulled down by losses in bellwethers, Seplat and BUA Cement. As more half-year numbers trickle in, Abiodun Keripe, head of investment research at Afrinvest, joins me to review market activities this week. Abiodun, glad to have you join us for this conversation on Closing Bell West Africa. So, shall we start from talking the Airtel latest results? I'm looking at some of their flashpoints here, talking about specifically the quarter ended 30 June latest figures from Airtel. You must have heard the Airtel Africa chief earlier talking to CNBC Africa, talking about technology, online changes, results, and essentially what positives being an essential service provider has meant for them given the COVID-19 pandemic. What are your general thoughts on Airtel Africa's latest figures?
Thank you for having me, Christy. I think results really pretty much came in line with expectation amidst all of the fallout of the pandemic, and how it has affected economies and companies and businesses across. Clearly, it was obvious that there were some sectors that were sort of positioned to be net gainers despite the impact of the pandemic. And I think that's pretty much what these numbers is pointing towards. Everybody's working from home. There's been a massive jump in the amount of demand for data, particularly, right? It's jumped to unprecedented levels, and it's clear this is really supporting the numbers. It's funny enough, I have not looked at the numbers directly, but from the feeders I'm getting, the numbers are quite strong. I mean, the growth momentum is quite positive, which didn't come as a surprise for me individually, because this was pretty much the expectation, and would expect this also to be reflected on the number of the other player in the industry that we have listed on the NSE.
Clearly, I'm sure even consumers can attest to the analysis that you just gave us. And I'm looking at the figures here right in front of me for Airtel Africa PLC, and I'm thinking, what a time. Now, Abiodun, as companies begin to adapt more and more to new normals, we know that telcos and techs have been two of the biggest winners from the COVID-19 pandemic. Are there other sectors that are beginning to normalize and maybe ramp up profit?
So I probably would expect to see some sort of improvement around. Unfortunately, we don't have this well represented on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So take, for instance, the e-commerce sector as it is, or subsector, depending on how you wish to classify it. I would expect to see some massive ramp up also in that space. Healthcare also is also another, we're dealing with an health pandemic as it is. So expectedly, there's been a massive inflow of investment, massive inflow of funds, and huge interest in the sector, the healthcare sector. Unfortunately, Nigeria historically has been one economy that has been underinvested or underinvested basically in the healthcare sector, and I mean, this is about the period for us as a nation, as an economy, to sort of ramp up. So from e-commerce to healthcare to, majorly those two top of my mind really are one of the sectors that I expect to see a massive ramp up in terms of profits and significant improvement in the numbers. You can also say, when we pick e-commerce as it is, actually, it sort of cuts across the value chain of trade and distribution. So as long as you're looking at any product that you have to move from one point to the other, be it a sort of consumer goods related product, you would expect also that the consumer sector would also see significant improvement from the sort of slowdown we're currently seeing. But again, it's not like there are not one or two headwinds or tailwinds rather. For the consumer space, we understand that there's been sort of significant downtrodden in terms of consumer purchasing power and the ability of consumers to spend really, but the very basic necessities will sort of keep enjoying consumer attention, or keep enjoying demand from consumer. Again, also for companies like a Dangote Sugar, which is listed on the stock exchange, I believe they possibly would also be seeing some benefits as a fallout of the border closures that we've had over the last a couple of months, right? This clearly would have supported demand for Dangote Sugar. I mean, bit of market research shows that at some point there was high demand for product and there was no supply. I guess that was about the peak of the pandemic, which again shows, I mean, the peak of the lockdown, which again shows how the lockdown would have affected distribution and trade. But e-commerce is there to sort of fill in the gap and cover the bridge. So, which is why I'm sort of positive on e-commerce, although we don't have it well represented on the NSE as it were.